Straight dope. No bullsh. Let's go. Cowboys injury report today. By the way, I'm Mike Fisher, your trusty and trusted reporter. This is the Fishbowl. That is the star. The pop outs, the jump outs. There's the 6 bongs on the wall. Let's go. Trending up on Micah and on Lamb. Let's go crossing your fingers on Diggs. Crossing your fingers on Zach Martin, who did not practice today, and trending down on Deron Bland, who did not practice. Today, of course, is Thursday. Zach Martin, kind of guy that can roll out of bed Sunday and play, fine. Deron Bland, and played all year, roll out of bed Sunday and play? I don't think so. So let's keep an eye on Micah, Diggs, Lamb, Bland, and Zach. Item 2, get in, get on, be good. By the way, bring something of intellect to the table. Only 3 slappies allowed per night. And I see so far on the early commenters, out of 72,000 fish heads in Cowboy Nation, no slappies. Item 2, the Bland thing is not the reason that they signed back Andrew Booth. But again, you'll notice, and we've made this point repeatedly now about why don't they like this guy? And they should grab that guy, and they love that guy. And why doesn't that guy come up to practice squad and play? The number of these guys that get snatched, the number of guys that get poached, it's a low number. Booth comes back here. They, of course, cut him to make room for what they did on with Mingo, the wide receiver. Booth coming back here. Can he help at cornerback? Yes, shoot him. Depending on who's walking wounded, he might be back on the varsity in no time. That's part of the story. But also part of the story is nobody else wanted him. And by the way, that's not a Cowboy indictment. That's a league-wide thing. So it's just a reminder for us, like we said the other day about trades. You know, the Cowboys made some nice acquisitions, some big defensive linemen in the offseason. Now they're all gone. So it's really exciting. It's really headline-grabbing. But when the other team is willing to give you a guy, there's oftentimes a reason for it. Item 3, digging through the trash. As you know, I've known Mike Zimmer for 30 years. And he says what he thinks. And not everybody likes it. If you're of a certain generation, you kind of appreciate it. We don't waste much time with Mike Zimmer. I told you over the summer, we were on the beach, as a matter of fact, all sitting around having a beer. And I said, back at the Super Bowl, when we were finding out that he was going to be the next new defensive coordinator, I go, I texted you. Okay, now, if I said to Steve or Joey or VJ or MRR or DB or Dylan, I texted you, every single one of you would go, yeah, I know. And Fish, I got the text, but I was driving, and then my wife called me. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you. Every single one of you. I say to Zimmer, at the Super Bowl, when you were getting this job, I texted you, and he looks up from his beer, and I look up from mine, and he goes, I know. That's it. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I know, but. Not, I get it. I know. And that's what you get with him. And if you're of a certain generation, maybe, or if you're just used to no nonsense, you like no nonsense, that's good. I don't know that this generation of player loves that. He is brutally honest. So on Monday, he talked about, very frankly, about who screwed up. And he will say that he screws up. He'll say that too. But that play where Trayvon Diggs couldn't figure out how 4 guys was going to cover 3, I mean, he said, I'm paraphrasing, he said, we're in man. That's Trayvon's man. And then he said he got caught up in the trash. Now, this is being a little bit misunderstood. People are making it sound like he's calling his players trash or the defense trash. He caught up in the trash it's football talk. It's like caught in the traffic. That's all that means. But Trayvon Diggs better be an adult about it. because his coach just announced to the world, we really screwed up on that play, and it was his fault. By the way, this comes on the heels of Trayvon Diggs going on Michael Parsons' show and saying, defensive coordinators, yeah, we sure do miss Dan Quinn. Hurt! Blow it up. Lame duck, blow it up. Hashtag 53 brands. This is what you get. Item 4, is Mike McCarthy hinting at when Trey Lance is going to get to really play quarterback? And I'm not talking about some gimmicky stuff on Sunday alongside or behind Cooper Rush, as fun as that might be. And by the way, my endorsement for it, I'm seeing a lot of X and O's guys talk about, my endorsement for it is, this team, this funeral needs some fun. Somebody pump some music into this funeral. That's all. He's not better than this guy or better than that guy. If he was a magical solution, they'd been playing him 8 weeks ago. But now, McCarthy said today, and again, I'm going to exaggerate. McCarthy said today, oh yeah, we got a lot of energy at practice, and guys aren't talking much. It's more about leadership. Leadership in action, not so much in words. And we got our mood's pretty good, even though. What? Based on what we see on Sundays, certainly the last couple of weeks, and we don't get to watch all the practice. The media doesn't get. There's no way this team has high energy practices. No way. High energy, super focused, uber intense practices. No way. You can't practice that way Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then show up on Sunday and on the very first play of the game not know how to line up. That's impossible. We got a lot of pep in our step. What? You can't fool me. I'm an old man. You can't fool me, Big Mike. Item 5, Micah Parsons with 3 predictions. So these are sub-dings. By the way, cowboyscountry.com is where it's all at. So if you want to add some beef to your cowboy knowledge, get there, cowboyscountry.com. In fact, go there 7 times a day. Would you please? And thank you. Micah's 3 predictions. 1, he says, that Cooper Rush, he's a good boy. So the locker room has belief that Cooper Rush is capable. That's good. 2, Micah predicting that he's going to play this week, and it does look like trending up. So that's good. And number 3, season's not over. And he's right. As long as he really thinks that, and as long as they're not just whistling by the graveyard, they know that there's a team in the division that's 7-2. You're 3-5, and you don't have your quarterback. So reality might be slapping you in the face right now. Maybe it slaps you in the face on Sunday with Philadelphia here. Philadelphia never wins here, but they're a 7-point favorite now. Joey, if the Eagles win, is McCarthy fired? No, not under those parameters. Do the Cowboys lose in an embarrassing fashion that makes it obvious that they're not going to the playoffs, and the coaching staff has lost the players? Those 3 things will be the measure. A simple loss will not be the measure. Steve, you've got a good memory. That's exactly right. So there's Micah's 3 things. There's my 3 things. Item 6, Stephen A. Smith says the season's over for the Cowboys. ESPN blowhard. He better hope not. He says the Cowboys should just quit. And of course, he's being hyperbolic. If the Cowboys really, literally crumbled up and blew away, that would be the worst thing in the world for Stephen A. Smith and for that network. What in the world would they talk about, argue about, debate about, pretend they know about? They had an argument, I guess it was this morning, is Dan Orlovsky versus Adam Schefter. Adam Schefter is supposed to be a beat writer. He's supposed to be a reporter, and he's on there, and they're arguing about Trey Lance versus Cooper Rush. not that Dan Orlovsky doesn't know quarterbacking. As it relates to the Cowboys and what they're trying to do, neither one of them have the slightest idea what they're talking about in terms of what the Cowboys are trying to do. Not the slightest idea. They're just filling time. So Stephen A. Smith, you better hope the Cowboys don't crumble up and blow away. By the way, Stephen A. Smith also announced that he maybe thinks he could become president of the United States. And that's as far as we're going to go with political talk, except for me to say it's just absolutely preposterous, except for the part where it's not. Item 7. And there's some fans that are doing this, and Mike Florio is stirring it up. They ought to flex the Cowboys off Thanksgiving. It's Cowboys Giants. It does not it is not figured to be a game between two contenders. Does that mean it's not going to be a watchable game? Oh, regarding Mike McCarthy, you're talking about next year? Oh no. I mean, it's less than 1% chance that Mike McCarthy. I don't know where the bar is, but he would have to jump over an invisible bar, and I would call it an impossible bar. Yes, 0.2%. That's correct. Less than 1% that Mike McCarthy comes back. There's virtually no circumstance under which he comes back next year. It's not because he can't coach. It's not because he's not a good person. None of that stuff. It's time. And of course, the Cowboys determined that it was time when they lost to the Packers 48-0 in the playoffs, is when the Cowboys front office determined that it was time. And the next thing you know, the entire coaching staff has 1-year contracts. Do these people not understand why the Cowboys are on Thanksgiving? They think it has to do with the one lot. They think it's a reward if a team has a good record. They get to go on Thanksgiving? That's not it. In fact, the team itself, not the franchise, John Murray gifts a Fish membership. Thank you, John. The team itself would like to not play on things. Nobody wants to play 4 days after they just played. No player wants to. The franchise was smart enough, as you know, decades ago to say, we'll do it when nobody else wanted to. That was Tex Schramm. You dullards, if this was about being a winning team, the Lions have been on for 100 years or whatever on Thanksgiving, and they're one of the losingest teams in sports history. You think it's about winning? You take the Cowboys off of Thanksgiving in a flex situation because some dope thinks that it's about what records the team has, and you will piss off the networks, the fans, and I'm not talking about Cowboy fans. I'm talking about football fans that watch the Cowboys and the Lions for a reason. And you also piss off the advertisers, which is all that really matters. Hey, Cowboys, Giants, it's a game between two losing teams. I don't know, pick one, Broncos, Seahawks. They're two winning teams. Let's put them on thing. You out of your mind? That's what the third game's for. It could happen someday. The Cowboys could continue to tumble and have people like you move from anger to apathy. It would take years, but it could happen to the point where they're not on TV, national TV. What are they on national TV this year? 10 times? It could happen. It's going to take a long time for the Cowboys to not be a drawing card. And I can't believe that Florio and his ilk don't understand this. To the country, the only thing as interesting as a good Cowboy team is, that's correct. In fact, they're to the country, not to you, to the country, they're tied. A red hot, charismatic, super powerful Cowboy team is extremely attractive to the country. So is a train wreck. How these guys don't get that stuns me. You're either naive or you don't understand how ratings work or you're trolling. Item 8. We made this big push after James Jones, the former Packer, who's on FS1, made a big push on cowboyscountry.com and on social media. Dude, I'm not trying to insult you. Wake up. Dak Prescott is a lot of things. They're not all perfect. We all merit criticism. Dak Prescott as a quitter. This is the guy who this summer, when he was in a contract dispute, showed up every day at work anyway. Remember? Spiral. Ask your grandparents what we're singing. Tradition. Somebody wrote, it's by Florio, somebody, you can change tradition. You don't change good tradition. You change bad tradition. Cowboys on Thanksgiving is good tradition. You're not changing that in a couple of weeks because they've lost a couple games. That's moronic. Thank you for allowing me to show off my incredible singing voice. This quarterback, this team leader, imperfect as he might be, could have had a contract holdout that would have set the team back. It didn't set the team back that CD Lamb had a holdout. It won't set the team back necessarily that Micah Parsons has one next summer, which he will. But if the quarterback doesn't show up for work for 3 months, that's a problem. Dak Prescott showed up every day. You know the other thing Dak Prescott did in terms of quitting on his team? What was it, 4 years ago? His ankle bone is sticking out of his skin. James Jones in FS1. And he tried, you remember? He tried to push it all back together so he could play with an ankle bone sticking out the side of his skin. I'm not going to defend Dak Prescott's interception that day or his fumble that day or why didn't he throw a touchdown pass that day. But I'll defend that. So I didn't watch. Luckily, nobody watches FS1, but on Twitter at Fish Sports, I saw him say, "That's my fault. Seeing the reports of how bad it might be, hamstring torn off the bone. That's tough. Godspeed, Dak." That's your apology? That's your apology for telling, I don't know, 100,000 people, 500,000 people, 1 million people that Dak is a quitter? Your apology is, boy, that's tough. Godspeed. What an ass clown. Item 9, Mike McCarthy talked about his height of embarrassment, and there's a lot of heights up there. It's like the New York skyline. It's a lot of skyscrapers up there. That thing with the tablet on Sunday in Atlanta. And I'm interested what you thought about it. He said he was embarrassed because it didn't show he's supposed to be a leader. And part of being a leader is be in control of things. And so he was embarrassed about that. And DB Cooper, I think I'm with you. And Vinny, I'm with you. At least he cares. He knows where this is going. He knows where this is going. They spent all week designing this fancy, fun play to do against the Falcons, and they put all their eggs in this basket, and they think they have something, and then they run the play, and they're completely wrong. And that's embarrassing. So he's right that he wants his players to not let themselves get out of emotional control. And so therefore he shouldn't. But I think most Cowboy fans kind of liked it because I think he was throwing his tablet for you. Item 10. Adam Schefter does an interview in which he predicts that Mike McCarthy is not going to get fired this season. Great scoop. I am not a stick with sports, LeBron James, stick with sportsy guy. I don't believe. Everybody gets to do whatever they want. Everybody gets to do whatever they want. Take whatever view you want, do whatever thing you want. But in my business and for my money, we should know our limitations. I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. Adam Schefter is good at reading texts that he gets from agents. Read them, copy and paste them, put them on Twitter. That's fine. Trying to have an opinion, trying to be funny, trying to do it off the cuff. And then in the end, he finds himself, he doesn't know exactly what to say. So he comes up with his prediction. I don't think Mike McCarthy is going to get fired this year. I got 72,000 fish heads in Cowboy Nation that already essentially know that. Jeff T, Fish, if the internet disappeared, do you think most of these guys could do their job? Once upon a time, some of these guys were once writers. And I chastise them when they do their red hot, sizzling sports opinions and they put them on Twitter or a big scoop or gossipy scoop. If it's real, you should write it. Put it on Twitter, it just goes into the ether. Oh, and by the way, if you just put it, here's a little advice for you, the young sports writer. If you just put it on Twitter, if you put your great idea on Twitter, whether it's about how to chop carrots or how to fix a car or what to do with the Cowboys offense, you know who makes the money off of it? You need to write it on your own website. You need to put it on your own YouTube. If you just put it on Twitter, you're not even selling the milk. You're giving away the cow. Boys. Fish out.